What is up, everybody? Kind of an impromptu stream here. I'm not going to lie. I was not planning on going live today. I was going to sit down, record this video in front of the camera like I usually do for most of my stuff. And I was like, I really do not want to edit later. So I was like, you know what? Let's just see if we can do this live. So I've got some slides going, the whole presentation, the whole rigmarole. So bear with me here. We'll see how this goes while we kind of go through my most anticipated movies for the rest of the year. A couple people in here early. Let's see what they're saying. Horror cool reviews. Don't remind me, dude. I mean, this made this list a little harder, right? Because Dune was definitely going to be my de facto number one here. Now I guess it's going to be on my number one for, the front half of 2024. Sad to say, unfortunately. Killers of the Flower Moon by far. Yeah, no, that's a great choice. Great choice. T's in here. T, thanks for coming in. Equalizer 3, Creator, Color Purple, and of course, Paw Patrol, Drew's in here saying hello. He hit 600 subs last night. That's awesome, man. So let's get going with this list. All right. I tried to be as unpretentious as possible with this list. I'm not saying there aren't going to be some Oscar contenders in here that get nominated out the ass. I mean, there are definitely some of those on my list here. But at the end of the day, I'm a mere man. I want to be entertained, which is why to kick off this number 10 at the movies I'm most looking forward to for the rest of the year is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I mean, look, I'm not even going to lie. All right. It just looks like a blast. I'm a massive horror video game fan. Dead Space, Outlast, Resident Evil, Alien Isolation, the list goes on and on. So any movie that kind of plays in that genre, I'm going to want to succeed. I didn't really play these games all that much. But like I said, I'm just a massive horror video game fan and a massive horror guy to begin with. So, at the end of the day, wish this one was rated R. I understand that the games are rated teen, so it kind of makes sense that they're going for that angle, stay true to the games. But I mean, come on, this one could be a big bloody mess for a sick puppy like myself if they really wanted it to be, but I won't judge it till I see it. But this one just looks like dumb fun, right? I mean, that new trailer dropped earlier today. It looked pretty good, very entertaining. And I'm sure, is it a cash grab? Is it not? But I'm sure we'll see an unrated cut for this at some point, kind of like with what we saw in Megan. I was not a fan of Megan. I didn't watch the unrated cut, but when it comes to a Blumhouse movie, I'm looking forward to, especially over their version of The Exorcist, just because I don't have high hopes for that. I am definitely picking the Five Nights at Freddy's movie for me here to come out at number 10. The cast isn't really going to rock your socks off, so to speak. And it's definitely not Shakespeare. I'm not expecting anything insane when it comes to the script and the dialogue. There probably will be no character development. That's fine with me. But I mean, it's always good to see Matthew Lillard, right? And I like Josh Hutcherson. I think he's pretty solid. I think he's picked some interesting roles the last few years that I've seen him. Obviously, he was kind of doing that usual child actor stuff, Disney Channel type stuff and Hunger Games towards the beginning of his career. But I think he's picked some interesting stuff as he's kind of grown into the industry. And of course, seeing Matthew Lillard, like I said, Stu from Scream is always, and I mean, I'd be remiss not to say Shaggy from Scooby-Doo as well. He always adds to the cast and that kind of goofy presence. But I'll tell you this, what had me super interested about this movie is two things. Like I said, my favorite horror movie ever is John Carpenter's The Thing. And I'm not comparing this movie to that masterpiece, obviously. Lock me up and throw away the key if you hear me do that. But what's really cool is they're doing a lot of practical effects in this movie, which we all know, if you're a horror fan, practical effects are key. They're doing a ton of the actual animatronic work, to make it real and true to the games. Absolutely love to see that. Add a little bit more of a scary element to the way these characters move and whatnot. They actually built a lot of the physical sets. Like I think they built the entire pizza shop, which I think is a really good idea. But the most interesting part about this thing, I'm kind of surprised because I looked this up again right before this stream to see if this was true or not. This movie is supposedly 3 hours long. A 3-hour long Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Like, if I'm a betting man, I would say a million times over this was gonna be a 90-minute rip, right? 3 hours long. So I'm super interested to kinda see what they're gonna do with it. I mean, how are they gonna fill up all that time? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to this one, man. Is it gonna be probably just crappy surface level entertainment? Most likely, but I'm in. I mean, count me in. What I'm looking at next for my number 9 pick is Wonka. And again, this is kind of a surprising choice for me. Um, this is a movie that before I saw the trailer a couple weeks ago, this movie was nowhere near my most anticipated for the rest of 2023 list, right? I just wasn't interested in it. It kind of seemed like they were milking this franchise dry. I don't know if this is a story that really needed to be told. Um, and I'm a big Willy Wonka fan. All right. The original with Gene Wilder, the newer version with Johnny Depp, it doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna consume any kind of content they give me, like I'm Augustus Gloop, right? In that chocolate lake. I think that was that kid that was in the chocolate lake. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think when I heard that they casted Chalamet, I don't know if I thought he was like goofy enough or that type of charismatic enough for this role. I mean, we've all seen the original, and then Johnny Depp came in and made the role even weirder, right? I mean, like he's so animated and he's so reactive and whatever you want to call it, right? I didn't think that Chalamet had that in him. And then when I saw the trailer, I got to say that I was thoroughly surprised, right? It looked good and he looked good in it. And he definitely had the look to begin with to kind of play this role. I just didn't think he was goofy enough. But I'm happy to be proven wrong, at least by the trailer that we saw. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like, it just looks like such a big, illustrious production of a movie. Seems like it's going to be pretty entertaining. I gotta say, I don't know if in the last like 5 years Hugh Grant has a new agent or something, but he's been killing it. Going back to like roles in The Gentleman from Guy Ritchie, right? Where he's super funny, he's super cunning, he's dastardly. I mean, when I was growing up, correct me if I'm wrong, when I was growing up, Hugh Grant was kind of like the male lead in a chick flick actor. And maybe he still has some of that in him. Um, but these last few years, like I said, The Gentleman, Dungeons and Dragons, and now he's playing the Oompa Loompas in Wonka. I mean, maybe it's just one Oompa Loompa. I don't know. We don't know from the trailer if this is like the origin story for everything, even like just one Oompa Loompa. Maybe he clones them or something like that. But yeah, no, I've been enjoying the hell out of Hugh Grant lately. So I think that's I don't really have much more to say. Like, obviously, this is towards the tail end of my list, so it's not one that I'm like dying to see. But I put it above some other ones that could have made this list. I think it looks entertaining. It's a Christmas Day movie, I'm pretty sure. So this might be the one that I end up going to with my family. It's going to be either that or The Color Purple. T says he's aged into that Michael Caine type of roles about Hugh Grant. Yeah, no, I completely agree, T. And I think the world's a better place because of it. Moving to my number 8, right? The Boy and the Heron. So this is supposedly Hayao Miyazaki's final movie ever. I don't even need to go into it any more than that, right? I mean, like that sentence alone puts this on this list. Um, I mean, if you're a fan of animation, anime, Western cinema, anything like that, you know who this guy is. He's made some of the best, not even just animated movies. He's made some of the best movies that we've ever seen. Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Princess Mononoke, Porco Rosso. I mean, these movies kick ass. He has a wild filmography. And it's one of those things that when I was growing up, obviously a lot of those movies came out before I was born. So he already had like such a category at his disposal. So honestly, it's kind of crazy thinking that this is his last one because just growing up, there were so many of them already established. Um, it's like it's going to be emotional knowing that this is the final story he's going to tell. I hope it's great, obviously, in a classic Studio Ghibli way. So badass. They're doing like no promotion for it whatsoever. They're just releasing it into cinemas. They're kind of letting Miyazaki's name do all the work for them. So we'll see if people show up. I think it's coming out. I saw a release date for October 1st, which is my birthday, actually, on the bad side of 25. But that's a Sunday, so I don't know if it's actually going to happen then. But we'll see. But regardless, I mean, these movies are known for like fantastic visuals, awesome soundtracks, really cool world building that just sucks you in. I'm really looking forward to this movie. Not, it's still at the tail end, it's at that number 8 spot. There's a lot more coming down the pipe that I'm more pumped for, but The Boy and the Heron, I mean, Miyazaki. There's nothing else to say. Miyazaki. Coming up next at number 7, we have Ferrari. And if you've hung around this channel at all, you know that I am a massive Adam Driver fan. Michael Mann is no slouch himself either. I'm a fan of that guy as well behind the camera, but Adam Driver, fantastic actor. I think it was even like Scorsese when he worked with him on Silence. I think he called him like the best living actor of his generation. So Scorsese knows what the hell he's talking about. He's done a couple good things in his life when it comes to movies. So I think I'm going to trust him on that one. And I agree. I mean, Driver's one of my favorites. I love watching him work. The only thing I'm mad about, they released some screenshots of this movie. And unfortunately, there was one without his sunglasses on. There was a running gag going on like film Twitter that like the whole movie of Ferrari was going to be Adam Driver with his sunglasses on. Unfortunately, we're finding out that's not the case. But I kind of wish he pulled like a Weekend at Bernie's and you just never saw his eyes the entire movie. But no, I mean, look, like I said, I'm a Michael Mann fan. Collateral, I think, is an awesome movie. I mean, no one's denying his catalog, right? I mean, you've got Heat, a bunch of others, but this isn't the style of movie that I love him for. Obviously, this is going to be a very slow biopic about the guy that started Ferrari. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it's paced and whatnot. And I don't even know personally that much about this story. I'm not really going to go look it up either because, I mean, I'll try to be surprised in the theater. So I don't really have a need to look it up beforehand because I know if Michael Mann is interested in this story, clearly there's a lot going on. So yeah, I'm just interested in seeing what the final product's going to be. T saying that he looks like Agent Smith, and he totally does. Kind of an Agent Smith that's seen better days, right? He's got that salt and pepper look going on right now. But yeah, no, I think this is going to be a really cool movie. I think this is another Christmas release. God, I have to do like a triple feature, quadruple feature on Christmas Day. There's a lot coming out then. But yeah, no, Ferrari, Michael Mann, Adam Driver, definitely going to be one of the most interesting movies of the entire year, not just for the rest of 2023. This one could be an Oscar hunter for sure. Probably the biggest one on this list so far. We'll kind of go over kind of which other ones are going to garner that kind of attention later on, but Ferrari definitely is going to get some of that Oscar buzz, that sweet, sweet Oscar buzz. So coming in at number 6, and this is one that I think there's a lot of fanfare around. Rebel Moon from Zack Snyder. And obviously, there is a big audience for this guy. I wouldn't consider myself part of the Snyder cult, so to speak. But there's a lot of fans for this guy, right? And rightfully so, somewhat. I mean, he's got some very cool stylized stuff. Another guy that has like a pretty interesting filmography when you go all the way back to like, I feel like the first movie of his that made a massive, massive mainstream impact was what, 300? And that kind of, Gerard Butler's even been riding the coattails of being the action star in that movie ever since. But, Snyder is an interesting guy. He has a lot of big ideas. He's very ambitious. Clearly, Netflix told him, look, here's a blank check. Do whatever the hell you want with this. You're out of the cage. Let's see what you can do. And that's awesome, but it's also concerning and terrifying, right? I mean, Snyder is a cool filmmaker. He's got a really unique and gritty visual style. I mean, you look at stuff like Watchmen. But sometimes there is too much of a good thing, right? Like if this movie's too Snyder, I'm sure I'll be sitting there rolling my eyes a little bit like, all right. I don't know, like the shots are just insane. It's CGI heaven. But it's hard not to get excited about this. I mean, like sci-fi is one of my favorite genres of all time, especially kind of new sci-fi that's not attached to like a pre-existing IP. And there's one more in here further up on this list that fits the bill, like what I'm talking about right now too, that I'm very excited about. But it's super exciting. Like studios don't give this kind of money anymore to IP that hasn't been proven, right? And I guess you could say it's a little bit of a cheat code, just in the sense that Snyder said from the beginning he designed this movie as a Star Wars story. Like he said he was back in the day talking to the woman who shall not be named, Kathleen Kennedy, about doing a Star Wars project. Obviously, that was before the big acquisition from Disney, I think. So maybe that even wasn't Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know if she came with only Disney. But regardless, this was a long time ago when he was planning this story, right? And he planned it as a Star Wars story. And a lot was different in that universe at the time. But you're watching this trailer, you see so much of that influence in there, right? I mean, like the guy has lightsabers in this movie. They're just like, there's more of a trail behind them when you whip them around. Like they're lightsabers. They're lightsabers. Anyone that tells you they're not, they're lying to you. But he has lightsabers in there. He has a bunch of other sci-fi famous stuff pulled from other movies. And I mean, whatever, right? I mean, Tarantino does that all the time, pulling from a lot of different influences. But you give me this movie like this that's like a massive sci-fi melting pot. I mean, I'm going to cut it some slack. I don't care if there's a bunch of stuff borrowed. The cast looks really good. You have, what's her name? Sophia Boutella and Charlie Hunnam. A bunch of other really good actors in there. And I got to say, usually I'm against the whole splitting it up into one part, two part type of thing. Rebel Moon gets a pass. That gets a pass for me. Just because when I watched an interview with Snyder talking about it, I think a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, someone asked him, why is this movie in two parts? And he said he'd filmed so much footage for it that when he was back in the editing room, kind of really looking through this and kind of nailing down the narrative, he said it was so long that if the studio wanted him to cut it into just one set narrative movie, that so much of it would be generic sci-fi stuff. Like, so much of it would be battles and space travel and aliens, scenery, whatever, you name it. So I respect that to tell the full story and to tell it the way he wants to tell it, he kind of gets the ability to do that now, right? Um, so who knows? Your friendly neighborhood Snyder cultist is going to tell you that this rocks, even if it doesn't. I'm on the fence about it. I think it's super exciting. It's super intriguing. So I really hope it pays off and that his whole vision gets explored in this movie. So I think it'll be definitely one of the most interesting projects for the rest of the year. I mean, it's so large scale. I love sci-fi. I'm okay with Snyder for the most part. I liked, Army of the Dead more than others do, I think. Batman vs Superman was, but that's my number 6 pick. Coming in at number 5, dream scenario from A24 with the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Sir Nicolas Cage. I don't think he's actually knighted, but he should be at this point, right? I don't know if you've heard about what the plot of this movie is yet, but you can tell that it's worth your time. And Cage has kind of been on a hot streak lately, not only with his performances, but also picking projects that are just super out there. And he's probably like the only one that could make them work. This kind of just has me thinking of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent from last year, or maybe that was tail end of 21. I actually forget. I think it was last year. But such an out there meta concept that only a guy like Nicolas Cage could probably make work. So, anyway, the plot for this one is he's just like some college professor that no one knows, no one really cares about. And then one night, he appears in everybody's dream. Like everybody on the planet, every single person on planet Earth dreams of this dude for one night, the same night, and he instantly is like thrown into this stardom, um, crazy pop culture zeitgeist type of tour. We don't really know much about it outside of that. For me, that's enough. Like that's enough for me to get excited about it. Um, I mean, Cage is an enigma lately, right? And he's only become more self-aware. His performances have only gotten better again over the years. Like he's really back on his game. I really think you look back at like what was it, 2020 when he was in Pig. Um, I think that has kind of started his mainstream like re-takeover. If you want to look back at like a little bit before that, probably Mandy is what made mainstream studios realize, okay, we got to get Cage back in the game here because he's killing it. And he doesn't phone it in, even when the guy's making like 50 grand, right? The guy never phones it in, always gives 110%. The dude is a dynamo. So I can't wait for this one. A24 also, they know not to pick shitty movies. They know not to pick shitty projects to work on. So this is gonna be an interesting one. Now, look, this is the type of movie though. It's probably gonna make what, like 10 million at the box office, right? Um, I'll probably be like 1 million of that seeing this movie over and over again if it's any good. But like I said, I think this one's super interesting. I don't even know who's directing this one, and I don't even really care. Like it's just the premise, the lead star. That's all I really need. So I'm sold on that one. It's interested. Or I'm interested in it big time. Coming in at number 4, there's that other big sci-fi project I was talking about just a couple minutes ago when we were covering Rebel Moon, The Creator. And this one's just a couple weeks away. This is like late September, right? The hype for this one is pretty much through the roof. I know some guys that I've seen on YouTube talk about how they've already seen this movie and they say it's their favorite of the entire year. Gareth Edwards, obviously, he's known for doing Rogue One, which is a very good standalone Star Wars adventure. if you still count that, even though it connects to Andor now, but it is a really good standalone Star Wars adventure. The guy has shown that he knows how to handle all the world building, big battle scenes, these adventurous character arcs, making people that are easy to root for. And now you kind of have this mixture of these AI themes and, throwing some other really cool, dynamic, lesser known, but always really good actors into the mix. I think this movie's going to kick ass. This is one that I'm really banking on for people to show up, though. Like, I really want this one to do well at the box office because I'm dying to have new and original sci fi. And this connects to what I was talking about with Rebel Moon, right? Not that often are big studios giving pretty big budgets to this kind of sci-fi IP that has no track record, right? Like, this isn't part of a franchise, this isn't a sequel, this isn't a prequel, this isn't a reboot. This is a whole new thing. Honestly, if it looks similar to anything, it looks like it's closer to District 9 more than anything else. And if you know me, District 9 is like a 5-star movie. I love that. It's one of the best sci-fis, one of the best movies we've ever gotten. So this one I think is going to really take people by surprise. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people that are actually looking forward to it, so they'll be proven right. But I think this one's going to creep up on people. This is going to be a good one. John David Washington, pretty solid actor. Like I said, Gareth Edwards is the director here, and he also did that Godzilla movie with Aaron Taylor Johnson and Bryan Cranston. Not the best iteration of Godzilla, but just showed that this guy really knew how to handle like big scale action, monsters, like, his framing and pacing was really solid. The movie definitely had some other issues, but I think I saw all I needed to see. And what I saw in Rogue One to kind of prove to me that he's going to knock this out of the park. I really think this is going to be a cool project for him. And like I said, I hope that it really takes off because it would be a huge win for sci-fi. And yeah, I cannot wait for this one. I'm going to be there day one, opening day. No other place I'm going to be. So yeah, the creator. I think this one hopefully makes a lot of money at the box office. Coming in at number 3, we have Napoleon. And I am a big, big Ridley Scott guy. If you've spent any time on the channel whatsoever, you know that I love Ridley Scott. Even bad Ridley Scott, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like a lot of his stuff more often than not. House of Gucci, but I mean, look, I champion for the 2021 movie, The Last Duel, any chance that I get. That movie is incredible. It shows that even though Ridley Scott is a billion years old, the guy still knows what to do when he's in the director's chair. And more than that, that's a period piece too. So the guy knows what he's doing. I mean, this is his wheelhouse. Like, these big epic battle scenes, these slow character development arcs. He loves tackling different parts of history. And I mean, the guy playing the pivotal main character is Joaquin Phoenix. I'd be shocked if there wasn't a Best Director and Best Actor nomination coming out of this movie. I really think it's going to rock. And for a lot of people that have been kind of down on Ridley Scott lately, I feel like this is going to get them back into his camp. I know he didn't do a great job of doing that when no one saw The Last Duel, and he like blamed it on millennials and cell phones. That probably wasn't the reason that I would give if I was talking to the press, but whatever. I mean, like I said, the guy's like 100 years old. Of course he's going to say like phones are ruining the box office and, movies today. So, but anyway, I think this movie is going to kick some serious ass. Joaquin is just always solid, right? And we've seen that he has a good rapport with Ridley Scott in the past. He gets the best out of him. Vanessa Kirby's in this. She has a very big role as the love interest and I think eventual wife of Napoleon. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the trailer for this one like 30 times. I keep getting impressed by the look of it, the cinematography. Um, just has great color grading. I just think the whole thing looks awesome. So this one for me, again, is a day one watch. Um, Ridley Scott is such a big, important director in my movie watching career. I just think he makes some incredible work. I mean, Blade Runner and Alien are both probably in like my top 20 movies of all time. The guy's a dynamo. When he hits, he hits. Does he have some misfires? Sure. But a period piece about Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix in the main role, that doesn't seem like one that he's gonna miss. Coming in at number 2, I mean, you knew it had to be somewhere on this list, right? And probably in the top 5. Killers of the Flower Moon, the new movie from Scorsese. And let's just say this, Scorsese, DiCaprio, De Niro, that's just such an easy winning combination to get behind. Um, I mean, it's hard not to love that lineup. And I'll say this, I mean, like, Scorsese kind of remakes the same narrative gangster mob movie, but just in a different time period every few years. And I am not mad at him. I mean, they always slap, they're really entertaining. He does the right amount of gore, the right amount of action. They're always paced super well. Say what you will if you're someone that fell asleep during The Irishman or something. I know that was 3 hours long, but I think his stuff is always paced really well. Um, so yeah, I mean, does he kind of keep making? He takes the same mold, right, of this like gangster or mob story, and does a new time period and coat of paint around it. And it's always freaking awesome. No complaints from me there. I also think this has the best trailer of 2023. I'm never going to be mad about the trailer coming on before the movie during the previews. Um, the music is banging, the pacing, like, I'm just, all right, I'll say this. I'm a total sucker for trailers that, like, if a guy like punches a guy in the trailer, it also matches up with like the beat of a music, like the music, like they cut it together so well to go with the action on screen. It's an addicting trailer, honestly. It looks really good. It plays really well. You can just tell they ain't screwing around with this one. Okay. Um, Leo, Lily Gladstone, De Niro. I could see them all probably getting nominations for this. Scorsese, probably a director nomination for this. Probably a best picture nomination. I mean, while we're at it. So we'll see how that one goes. But I don't know if you guys saw it. It actually just got moved to a wide release. Thank God. I think it was one of those things where it was like a limited release and then it was hitting Apple Plus or something like that. So, one good thing to come out of all this reshuffling and stuff because of the strike is that this one is actually going to a wide theatrical release. And thank God. I mean, like, come on, a Scorsese movie with Leo and De Niro, you're really not going to put that on all the biggest screens possible. But yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean, so obvious that it was going to be very high on my list and everyone's list for that matter. I mean, come on. But coming in at number 1, I cannot wait for this movie, is The Killer from David Fincher with Michael Fassbender. David Fincher might be my favorite director working today. I kind of go back and forth on that. Like I said, I'm a massive Ridley Scott guy too, but Fincher has been so consistent for me with his movies throughout the years. Um, like I really think, and I say this all the time, and it's just such like a film bro thing to say. I really think Fight Club was the movie that like got me into films, right? Which I feel like was the pick for a lot of teenage guys that were trying to kind of get into gritty films and thought if they watched that, they'd know what cinema was after like looking up movies with the best twist and like the coolest movie characters and whatever because of Tyler Durden. But that movie kind of started it all for me on this film journey. So I'm always indebted to Fincher because of that. But I mean, you look at his other stuff, Social Network, Gone Girl, Zodiac, which I actually think might be his masterpiece. Um, Yeah, the guy just has an insane filmography. I'm so glad he's back. You know, wasn't too interested in Mank. I'll say that, but this looks like it might be the most fast-paced and action-heavy Fincher movie we've ever gotten. I mean, obviously there's light moments of action in Zodiac. There's more action in something like Seven. And Fight Club has some exciting scenes for sure. It's not nonstop. But I mean, this is about Michael Fassbender being a hitman. Clearly, he doesn't stick to the plan like he says he's gonna in the trailer. Stuff is going to go terribly wrong for this guy, I'm sure, which means that he's just going to be trying to fix whatever happened or running from whatever happened for the majority of the movie. Very interested to see what's going to go on in this film. Um, like I said, it just looks super fast paced. Fassbender is another guy that I feel like I haven't seen in the limelight for a couple of years. Love the guy and everything that he's in. And I know this is probably a pretty big year for him because he's got that new Taika Waititi movie that's coming out too. What is it? Next Goal Wins. I know that's kind of on the awards circuit or the festival circuit as well. But I mean, I don't know. There's something indescribable about a Fincher film. They're gritty, they're dark, they're fast paced, they're unapologetic. I really think pairing his style, adding more fast pace and action with Michael Fassbender in the mix, I really think this movie is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Um, yeah, I cannot wait to see this. I actually can't remember. I think it's going to theaters in October before hitting Netflix in November. You know how I'm watching this one. I have to go see it in the theater. So I'll be there in October. I think it's like one of the last weeks, maybe like in the 20th or something like that. Um, but it's just great to have what looks like the vintage Fincher that I knew from watching his films growing up back. This is the type of movie I'd expect out of him, even though I wasn't expecting to see this when the trailer came out. I thought it was going to be kind of more of a character study, slow paced. I don't know. I just didn't know what to expect. But then seeing that trailer, how methodical and tiny cuts throughout it, kind of much like the character being careful the whole time and cautious, but things going awry and just chaos building more and more. That was a masterful trailer. Didn't give away like anything, any part of the story. Um, there's a lot that they're keeping close to the vest, which I'm pumped about. I mean, obviously, you don't get a Fincher movie every day, so I want to go in as blind as possible. I know I watched the trailer, I couldn't help myself, sue me, but you want to go in relatively blind for this kind of stuff. So yeah, that is what I'm really looking forward to for the tail end of 2023. Yeah, that list was kind of hard to put together. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot, like I kind of knew from the beginning what my top 5 was going to be. I mean, I knew my number 1 was going to be before they got rid of Dune Part 2, god damn it. But I kind of knew what my top 5 were going to be. There was a lot of movies that could have kind of squeaked into the tail end of that list, but just didn't quite make it for me. And I went with some other choices. I mean, putting Wonka and Five Nights at Freddy's at the end. I mean, you got to have just some like pulpy entertainment ones that you're looking forward to too. Not everything can be like a Oscar-winning pretentious choice because not all of those movies are the ones that I'm looking forward to. I really want to see, I just be entertained for like 2 hours, or I guess we'll see how it goes. But when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's, 3 hours, which is insane. We'll kind of see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, if you end up watching this on replay, I know I kind of just threw this on the schedule very impromptu. I don't even know if anyone's going to check this one out, but let me know in the comments below, like what are the top 10 movies you're looking forward to for the rest of the year? I think there's a lot of interesting choices left on the board. We'll kind of see where they're going to go with them. Hopefully no more get delayed and pushed back. That would be absolutely awful, worst case scenario. Um, but yeah, so I kind of just want to drop by, give you guys just a little quick stream. Um, don't want to overstay my welcome. I was just live on Sunday. Had a great turnout for that. I appreciate any of you guys that are here now that were there, and for anyone that watches it on the replay. I've really been digging going live lately, so I think I want to keep that up if there's support for it. But yeah, so that was my list of my top 10 most anticipated movies for the rest of 2023. Let me know in the comments, what's yours looking like? You know, there's a lot out there, a lot to choose from, very diverse options. So I definitely want to hear what you have to say. And maybe there's some that I missed that should have been on mine, but I just missed them for one reason or another. So let me know. I will see you guys at the next video. And again, thank you for tuning in. Go watch a shit ton of movies. All right. I'll see you guys at the next one.